Follow Victor Van Vellaseff on an effervescent and eye-opening spiritual journey through time and space, accompanied by a squeaky gurney. After the untimely deaths of both his daughter and wife, Vellaseff runs away from society, seeking spiritual redemption and the answers to his philosophical questions. A neo-psychedelic power ballad written in epic rhyming verse through a series of montages and flashbacks, accompanied by a full band. Hi everybody, welcome to this channel. I'm Roland Crows, and thank you so much for your interest in ego death. So happy to have you here, and I really can't wait to explore the whole feature with you. From now on, I'm going to be posting a lot more on this channel, videos pertaining to ego death, what it's about. I'm planning to do a read-through of the script even. So, what is ego death? Oh my gosh! I don't know if my cat is right here. No, he's not today.
His name is Victor Van Vellaseff from East-Western Vohrenbach with the 15-pound sack on his back. He's stumbling down those lonesome railroad tracks. He was all alone and he had no phone, for the year was 402180.
What genre is ego death? I feel like it's always difficult to put a song or a movie or, any sort of creative work into just one genre. I would actually, say there's multiple genres to every single movie and book and all that. So I would class this as sci-fi, adventure, fantasy, neo-psychedelic, musical. And musical because it is written to a non-stop beat that does change throughout the feature, but it does remain pretty consistently at 144 beats per minute, and the music doesn't stop. And I envision the music to be like psychedelic rock, think Pink Floyd or The Voids with some Dire Straits. That's kind of how I picture the music to be. It is sort of a swing beat rhythm. I do relate more to the twist, however, if you know the twist. So the whole screenplay was written to an instrumental, Sultans of Swing by Dire Straits, and I just played that over and over as I wrote the script, and so that's how I know that it's on beat. I wrote it to a beat. So when people narrate it, they need to say their lines to a specific beat. So that's how I think what we do is record the audio first and then have actors lip sync to it. That's probably the best route to go in my opinion. Let's get into the ego death plot summary, shall we? As you know, plot summaries are supposed to be short. Mine is just under a page, so let's read it really quick. After the death of both his daughter and wife, Victor Van Vellaseff steals a gurney and abandons Vohrenbach society. Lost, fearful, hungry, and exposed to the elements of the forest, Vellaseff eats mushrooms and dies. Then Vellaseff sees the spirit of Messiah Maine appear before him, who flies into Vellaseff's body, effectively controlling his soul, whilst Vellaseff's spirit flies out of his body, traveling the universe and reliving parts of his life. And Vellaseff's spiritual essence embarks on an intense journey of self-exploration and self-discovery, ultimately realizing his true identity and coming to terms with the answers to his philosophical questions. Because nobody can tell you, what your values are. That's something you have to find out for yourself, and that's what Vellaseff's spirit eventually finds out for himself by experiencing ego death, essentially. Messiah's spirit, who is controlling Vellaseff's mortal body, while Vellaseff's spirit is traveling the universe. He erects an entire city and society, and names himself Divine Ruler. So this is Messiah's spirit in the body of the main character, Vellaseff. And it's not Vellaseff, he's being controlled by this other spirit. And we learn more about Messiah throughout the movie, but, yeah. So eventually, Vellaseff's spirit tries to re-enter his mortal body, but is unsuccessful, as his spiritual essence isn't strong enough. Messiah threatens to kill Vellaseff's mortal body, so Vellaseff's spirit flies back out into the universe, meeting up with the spirit of his late mother, who leads him to the prophesized land of Avalon. And so there's a bit of lore to this as well. Inside the canyon, in the mythical land of Avalon, Velaseff's spirit meets three muses who ask him the same philosophical questions that Vellaseff had asked others before in his life. But philosophical questions can't be truly answered by others, so Velaseff's spirit uncovers his own philosophical perspectives, beliefs, and values. A bolt of divine lightning strikes Velaseff's spirit and sparks his essence with redemption. Now, spiritually enlightened, Velaseff's spirit is energized and much stronger, successfully re-entering his sleeping mortal body in the dead of night. So while Messiah is asleep in Velaseff's body, his spirit comes through the window and enters back into his body, awakening from his dream. Vellaseff throws the Bible that was on his nightstand into the raging fire. The Bible speaks with Messiah's voice as it crumbles to a crisp. Now free from spiritual corruption, Vellaseff abandons the society he constructed and follows his true path back into the forest. After coming face to face with his fears, ultimately becoming them, Vellaseff finally accepts himself for who he truly is. There is a twist at the end, and everybody dances. And by twist, I do mean the twist, the dance. So that's a really fun ending, kind of punny if you think about it. It is the year 4021 AD, and the warring world is seemingly revolving backwards. We've gone so far into the future that we've suddenly started regressing. And so that's why a lot of these elements in ego death, it's so far in the future, but it seems like, we're back in the biblical era at some points because of just how far back we've transgressed in efforts to make progress and move forward. It seems like we've gone backwards. And Victor van Vellaseff, who was a 44-year-old he actually did illegally immigrate from his home country, but he is an immigrant man and runs away from Vohrenbach society after the tragic death of his daughter and wife, seeking spiritual redemption and the answers to his philosophical questions regarding life, death, nature, nurture, good, evil, war, religion, society, mental illness, metaphysics, sex, the human condition, and the laws of nature. And how did this come to me? How did ego death come to me? Well, it was May of 2021. I quit my job, and I felt it in me. I just had to write, and I just went to my shed, and I just wrote this in a month. It was a stream of consciousness. It just flowed out of me, and as I was writing it, I didn't entirely know what I was writing, and then I'd go back and read it, and I still don't have the answers to some questions I ask myself about the plot, the characters, what stuff means. There's a lot of symbolism. For example, the gurney, which can be symbolized in many ways. To me, the gurney is a symbolization of that middle ground between potential life or death. You get to you're in pain, you're suffering. They take you on a gurney to the hospital, and you might die, or you might, be cured and you'll be fine. But that gurney is a symbolism. It's like you might be going, to life or to death, basically. So that's what the gurney symbolizes. But there's many different, methods of interpretation throughout. And really, I think what you'll get out of ego death depends on your experiences as a person and where you come from and what your beliefs are. I don't think that this is I can't say who's gonna enjoy this because I think a lot of people will resonate with different aspects of the movie, just depending on who you are. It is a representation of my working memory and stream of consciousness, and I do envision it produced in the mode of a Tim Burton classic. I feel like out of all producers, he could probably bring my vision to life in the best way, since there's so many CGI elements as well as partially animated live action scenes. So it's also very trippy too. So whoever funds me for this, or whoever wants to buy this from me, needs to be aware that there are a lot of costs associated with animating this, with CGI elements. It's a lot of money. It's going to take a big budget, but I think it will pay off. I definitely think that this will be a classic movie if produced correctly. I think a lot of people will resonate with this. I think it's a groundbreaking movie. I don't think there's another one like it, and I'm not entirely sure that there ever will be again, and there might never be if I can't produce it. So I really do ask you, if you're watching this out there and you are a producer or you're interested in ego death in any form, to please contact me and we can talk about the future and the future of ego death. So I'd really love to talk to you about that. But let's, continue about how this came to me. It's a deeply personal and introspective take of one man's spiritual liberation, which I can relate to as the author. Vellaseff is constantly running from his past, changing his name and citizenship multiple times, only to eventually realize that he's only running from his own mind, which is his greatest fear. Vellaseff ultimately understands that all the versions of himself are connected through the continuum of time. Vellaseff couldn't just change his name and become someone new, because multiple priori versions of himself still existed and are still bound to him through time. All the versions of ourself are connected. The future version of yourself is just a projection of your greatest fears, because in order to conquer your fears, you must become them. If you can imagine yourself conquering your fears, you have already become your greatest fear in the future. And sometimes, what we truly fear is what we have become. And once we have fully identified, personified, essentially become and eventually overcome our greatest fears, after you've overcome them, you've identified them, you've become them, that's when we examine our belief systems and values, affirming our own character and essence by doing so. And in order to understand anything, in fact, you must become it. And that is really what this feature constantly gets at. You see Vellaseff's spirit flying into inanimate objects, like a flower, for example, and bringing them to life and experiencing life through that perspective. And, I think if more people did that, embodied other people's perspectives, we'd have a lot more empathy in this world, is all I'm saying. Everybody has a unique perspective on life, and each individual has their own philosophies and moral compass. All things natural have a spiritual form or essence, and Vellaseff realizes this once he enters the spiritual realm, in which his spirit detaches from his soul/physical body and travels the universe. Velaseff's spirit speaks to the spirits of insects, animals, plants, and earthly elements, and in order to truly understand the philosophical perspectives of each individual spirit, he temporarily becomes them, inhabiting their bodies and learning lessons from each spirit by experiencing what it is like to live in each energetic form. And Vellaseff eventually uncovers the validity of the law of tangibility, in which the laws of nature themselves are subject to change because laws are intangible, and nobody can truly understand the experience of being intangible. In order to truly understand the world, which Vellaseff questions deeply, one must step outside of it. But one cannot become intangible. Even a spiritual form is tangible, as it contains an essence which contains one's morals and belief. If one attempts to become something intangible, one would temporarily give that intangible construct tangibility and essential justification. And the philosophical key point is that no one can ever truly understand something that's intangible. Attempting to become an intangible construct would give that previous nothing an element of one's own unique spiritual tangibility. Therefore, it's not worthwhile to attempt to fully understand what is inherently outside our realm of knowing. And Vellaseff struggles with this. He attempts to understand the unknown. He fears as well, what is the unknown? What is the answer to the stuff we can't possibly know? And, sometimes there's not one answer. There's not a singular answer, and sometimes there's no real answer at all. I like to think of this, perhaps relating this to quantum physics, for example. Imagine Ant-Man when he goes into the quantum verse, and he shrinks so small, like the eighth of an atom or something like that. And I know scientists out there, they're trying this. They're trying to attempt to understand the quantum realm, attempting to understand what physically is not there, which really, is not there. It's only a construct in a human's head. So, to attempt to understand something that is simply an intangible construct, it's really, you can bash your head against the wall. You can continuously bash your head against the wall, and you won't find an answer. No offense to quantum physicists out there. Just saying that. I'm just saying. Another topic I want to address as well, because it comes up throughout the script, is the question of identity and sexuality. See, Vellaseff is, he's like an artistic spirit. He's pretty queer. He's not so much concerned with the monotony of modern life. He's not really, he's not a conformist, and yet you see him throughout the script constantly conform in order to fit in, and at heart, he really is this unique, wild spirit. Free spirit is probably what I'd say, and two-spirit as well. And that is another, topic that comes up. There's a character called Dyke, and he is convinced by Messiah to change his name to Mike, and that is an example of a character suppressing his sexuality in order to fit societal expectations and norms, and it was a big mistake at the end of the movie. You see, Dyke choose his own path. He's not a super main character, but he's one of these side characters who does have a lot of this character development on the side with Messiah. So this also, there's a lot of subtext. There's a lot of underlying themes of this feature, which I'm sure you'd really love to find out about. I'm going to be reading the script in the next coming weeks, and I hope you stick around for more. I will be reading it all. It's an 135-page long poem, essentially. It's very long, and it's all in rhyme. So you're gonna be here with me, and it's gonna be a lot of fun, and I'm so excited. I'm literally so excited. And I'm so happy you stuck around with me to listen a little bit about the plot summary of Ego Death and a little bit of my plans for it. Definitely stick around for more. Peace out, guys. Ego Death! Yeah! Some other possible directors and producers, just off the top of my head: Tim Burton, William Oliver Stone, Dan Aykroyd, Quentin Tarantino, Sam Raimi, Wes Anderson, Del Toro, and of course Melissa Sargent. And thank you again to Melissa Sargent from Scriptwriters Network for choosing me as 2023's grand winner of the High Concept Screenplay Award, and I'm really looking forward to what's next. And stick around for more. Peace out, everybody.